Hi, everybody. Ryan Ballengee here. Welcome to the Bag Room. Here with Mark Stewart today, our man from Stewart Golf. He's joined us from overseas. And first, Mark, thanks for being here. You guys are one of the leaders. For people who don't know about Stewart Golf, you guys are one of the leaders in follow and for basically equipment for the walking golfer, whether that's a push cart, but more famously for your motorized carts and the ability to follow the golfer or trail with the golfer or go with the golfer wherever they need to go. I'm a fan of the carts. I've used them myself. Um, you guys have celebrated 20 years as being around as a company, and I think 20 years being a company in any space, much less golf, is something worth celebrating and talking about that achievement. For you all at Stewart Golf, what does it mean to have been around for 20 years, and what do you see as kind of the high points of the journey of those 20 years?
Oh, well, first of all, hello, and thanks for having me on. Ryan, it's good to see you. Good to chat again and catch up. Yeah, 20 years is it feels like it's sort of gone by in a heartbeat, to be honest. So I don't know. When you think of sort of look back, obviously there's a lot that's happened, and you're dead right that just existing as a business for 20 years is pretty unusual. But no, for me, I guess I don't know the big things that stick out um, were I still remember the splash that we made when we launched the company in the first place. So that was pretty much mostly in the UK. One of the first really cool bits of press coverage that we got was in GQ magazine. Do
Hmm.
you get GQ in the States? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they used to do this 100 coolest things in the world ranking list. And I forget the number, but we were something like 35 or something like that. But on the there was a big double page spread with us on it, and we were in between the Range Rover Sport and David Beckham's football boots. And we were in the middle, and I was like, "That's pretty cool." When I was looking at it, so that was cool when we launched. We designed a product that worked as a cool thing outside of golf. So to be something like GQ, obviously not every golf product gets to go in sort of other publications like that. That was pretty cool. Um, Definitely launching Follow was a major turning point for us as a business. So we've been growing sort of reasonably and organically for pretty much 10 years by the time we launched the Follow system. And that immediately put us on a different growth trajectory. That was pretty special when that happened. I guess we moved into a big factory. We spent £1 million on a new building, which at the time we were basically couldn't afford. Um, so same as a lot of businesses, yeah, we can't really afford it, but if we can convince the bank to lend us the money, then it's probably the right thing to do. So we managed to do that. That was pretty cool. And that was another sort of step change. We did that around about the same time we launched in the US, actually, which is another, obviously, we'll probably talk about this, but a thing that we did that we couldn't really afford to do and weren't really big enough to be a multinational. It sounds very grand, but again, it felt like the right thing to do. It's just like that this whole walking thing in America is going to happen at some point. Um, and so you can't really say that without mentioning COVID.
Right.
Being everybody in the golf industry had a sort of pretty much a decent time through COVID from a business point of view. So for us, that was even more pronounced that we pretty much I forget what the numbers were these days. We easily tripled our sales in the US in
Wow.
about like a 5 month period right at the start of COVID, which was just insane. And if we'd have been able to catch it to keep up with demand, it probably would have been 6 or 7 times. It was amazing. So that was a huge turning point just in walking golf sort of acceptance in the US. And obviously that's kind of the wave that we're still trying to ride now.
And I think COVID was certainly a catalyst for it for a variety of reasons, most of which was regulation wise, right? Riding in a motorized cart wasn't really an option for a lot of people. And so they turned to walking, and then they turned to walking carts and motorized walking carts. But that seems to have sustained itself. And I think part of that is because it feels like the next generation is cool with walking. They want to get away from not necessarily never use a motorized good old fashioned golf cart, but that they want to enjoy the exercise. They want to be outside and they want walking to be a key part of that experience. And that's something you can tap into with that burgeoning new generation of golfers.
Yeah, pretty much, but it's not our demographic isn't the new generation. So I mean a big part of that I guess is the price point that we operate at, which so it's the same as in the UK that the if you're sort of in your 20s and a college golfer or a recreational golfer or something like that, you probably haven't got the best part of $3,000 to drop on a walking golf cart.
Sure.
So our demographic actually skews higher. So it's very similar to our UK age of customer, which is kind of guys in their it's mostly guys in their sort of 50s
Mm,
and 60s. So it's obviously that's an average,
sure.
but yeah, that's kind of where it tends to be. So what we've found. We did a survey in January or February this year of our customers in the UK and in the US. So I think we got something like about it was more than 1,000 respondents in the US. So it's a decent enough sample size. But about half of our customers have only started walking the golf course in the last few years. Some of them are coming from push carts, but the biggest chunk are people that have migrated from riding to walking. And obviously a lot of that's been driven by what happened in COVID. Although it's interesting though, as part of the MBA project I did coming out of COVID, I interviewed, I sort of took a random almost across the states individual customers. So I interviewed 10 or 12 customers. All of whom basically bought during COVID. So I wanted to understand what was the background behind it. And all of them denied that COVID was a driver for it, even though to the outside it looked like that. And they would either be saying, no, I walked before. This was like getting one of these electric walking carts was a natural progression, or they were saying, well, I wanted to do it anyway. I was kind of on the sort of the COVID just tipped me over the edge, but I was going that way anyway. So obviously you never really know what people's motivations are, but yeah, it's just really interesting. And I think the what COVID did for walking as a category, as I see it, is it brought it right to the surface. So
Yeah.
it well the best way I describe it to obviously I see at the PGA show every year in Orlando in January, and pre-COVID and we'd already had follow by this point, and we'd exhibited twice at the PGA show. But even in pre-COVID, so 2019, it would have been. I couldn't buy any attention from any American publication at all. The only one I could get was one guy that worked for one of the US websites, and the only reason he would see me is because he happens to be English. Literally, I could, and he would only see me for 10 minutes in the corridor out by the food court. But then obviously COVID happens. The PGA show didn't happen for a year. Then the following year, when I went back again, my calendar is full of contacts like you, where actually this is a thing now, and people want to know about it. Now when I go to the PGA show, it's probably 80% US people that I speak to. So just from that sort of that little anecdote from what I see, it's the attitude has changed dramatically, which I think is obviously from my point of view is really positive. But from a general point of view, I think from well, the reasons that people walk, I think is really positive generally for golf and for the golfing population of the US.
But there's a cultural kind of uh, customer journey that you can go on here is kind of what it sounds like. That if it starts with, hey, walking is important and it's relevant to you, and for people like me who started when they were younger, someone had to teach them, right? That someone had to teach them the ways of golf. And maybe if that older generation is now saying, you should walk. It's not about getting in a motorized cart and riding all 18 holes. It's about experiencing the course. That sets up a customer journey that, yes, they may not today at 18, 19, 25 years old be able to afford a electric golf trolley, but that they fall in love with it to the point that they do get on that journey of the people you talk to for your MBA paper of, okay, I believe in walking and the relevance of it. And now that I want to invest in that, I'm going to invest in it by having a Stewart golf cart in my repertoire.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the things for me, and particularly when I'm in the US, is that I'm I almost sort of I kind of almost forget about trying to promote our products because it's way more important just to talk about walking golf and why and basically why we think that's right. I mean, I'm always very cautious about being the sort of the condescending the British person in the room, sort of going, well, we sort of invented golf and you're sort of doing it wrong, America. It's not about that. I say, look, there's a time and a place to be in a golf cart. If you want to have some beers on, you want the music on, you've got whatever it might be. It's good fun. Like I've done that. It's a good laugh. The thing is, obviously I grew up in the UK, so 99% of people will walk the golf course here. It's incredibly unusual to see somebody sat in a golf cart here. But we were just talking about the piece that we did with Sam Torrance, which is all about why do we walk the golf course? What is it about walking that we love? And so we created this piece which we just called For the Walkers, which is Sam Torrance reading out this sort of a poem that we wrote. And just saying that we love this. We want to be with our friends. We want to connect with the golf course. We love the pace. One of the phrases in there that golf's beauty can lie in the time between shots, which is actually a quote from somebody that I interviewed on that for that MBA paper, and he was saying it's the game, the sort of the beauty of the game of golf is actually in between the game, and it's there's so much of the truth in that, and like see the way you're nodding. That's what if you like walking and whatever level you play at, actually it's irrelevant of standard of golf. That's it, that captures it. And so, but nowhere in that video does it say buy a follow cart or use a remote control. It's like, no, we walk. This is why we walk. Obviously I believe that we make the best product that will give you the best possible experience of a round of golf, but it's a broad church. Like if you want to go out and carry your bag, great, do that. If you want to push a cart, do that. It's all good. Eventually, and this is what we find from our customers, once they use our products and have that sort of the freedom that Remote and Follow gives you, they tend not to want to do it any other way. So like 95% of our customers say, this is the best way to play golf. I'm happy with my game. I feel more freedom, all that kind of stuff, which is cool. But it's not a prerequisite. So every time I come to the States, all I ever want to talk about is let's just walk, because it's actually, and this is again what I found from my research, is that the default setting for most American golf courses is you're going to be in a cart. So you're going to drive your car up to the bag drop. The guy will come out and sort of greet you, know your tee time, will take the clubs out of your car, and the next time you see them is probably on the practice range or on the first tee. So actually, in order to walk, you have to very consciously step outside of that system. And so it's something that as an individual, and obviously this is very contextual depending on your golf course and all that kind of stuff. But actually, you have to be prepared to go, I'm not going to be in that system. I'm going to kind of be the awkward outlier. But the more, and this is happening all the time now, more and more people are going, actually, you know what? I'm gonna walk, actually. And that was what the cool thing about COVID is, that there were lots of golfers that were on golf courses that they didn't consider to be walkable. And actually they got forced into doing it for one reason mostly, but for one reason or another. And then they kind of go, you know what? I enjoyed that. I'm going to do that again. And then the whole perception is skewed, which is then obviously led us to where we are. But yeah, the walking just generally, I think, is something that we just need to talk about more and more.
And the proselytizing that you all do at Stewart about walking is really endearing. I know you talked about kind of trying to not come across to Americans as kind of condescending, but it doesn't come across that way. It comes across as this is something we're passionate about, and we've made products to accommodate our passion, and we hope you'll be as passionate about it as we are. Come on, like you said, it's a big church, it's a big tent for everybody, and we just want you in the tent, and once you get there, then hopefully maybe you'll walk to our portion of the tent and get engaged with us.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's that's really it. And it's the thing is that what I do love is that although and particularly here. So if you ask any Brit, most Brits' experiences of America, it probably starts with Disneyland or Orlando or Florida. And so whenever I
Maybe
talk
not
to
the best
anyone,
representation, by the way, but
yeah, well, yeah, I mean that's for you to say. But the particularly if they've played golf and they go, okay, well, we went to Disneyland and we played golf around Orlando. It's like, oh, you'll be, but nobody walks in America and saying that, well, that's what America is like. And you say, well, America, particularly around Orlando, it's full of resorts, isn't it? And
right,
and it's also full of real estate. So
and hot.
uh, you're not going to walk, and it's hot, yeah. So the chances of you walking in a lot of the courses in Florida and a lot of the southern states is relatively low. Now that said, one of the people that I interviewed was in Tampa, and he said, "Well, yeah, I just go out first thing in the morning. For first light, I'm the first
Yeah.
person out. It's fine then. It doesn't get too humid. And we've sold to every US state now, so that it's kind of up to the individual. But it's the obviously there's I don't know how many courses there are in the states, 20,000 or something,
15,
something like that.
16,000, I think.
I mean,
A lot,
that's a lot of golf courses.
a lot.
So they're not all like Orlando. So you go up like look, my last trip over, I was up in Connecticut and Rhode Island, and it's a completely different environment. To be honest, it feels way more European up there.
Yeah.
Um, just and well, there's people walking all over the place. Like we were filming with some customers and just some end user customers, and on I think on maybe all of them, certainly on the majority of them, as we were there filming, we see other people using Stewart products, which never used to happen. And now whenever I come over, we go from being a sort of a novelty act to being something where people go, oh yeah, I've seen that. One of the guys in my club's got one, or there's another thing like this, and so you can feel it changing, but the sort of it's so highly contextual, either from not even from state to state, from course to course, on the attitudes to walking and riding and stuff. So yeah, it's really interesting, but it's changing so much.
The one thing I wanted to talk about this because we've talked about in the past, not in an interview setting, but just as human beings talking, that you've often spoken about how you and your team are making updates to products and you're always trying to look for a way to make your product better. And a lot of the time, that update, that improvement just kind of gets folded into a product. And there's not a new product, there's no press release, there's no fanfare. It's just, oh, it's better now. But there's not even necessarily an explanation of how it's better. So, two questions about that. First, kind of the more outrageous question: why do you do it that way? Why? That's a very not American thing to do, to make your product better and not tell anybody that it's better.
Well, so I mean, the honest answer to that is because and I won't say the brand, but there's one of the other major brands in our golf cart space that we're good friends with, and we joke that basically Stewart Golf has got too many engineers and not enough marketing people, and and X brand is the other way around. And it's all lighthearted. It's all good. But basically, that's the truth. So our Stewart Golf is owned by four engineers, basically. Me being one of them. And if there's something to improve, then we'll just do it. And not we don't need. It's partly a function of how we build our products as well, because if you're I don't know, like for example, for us now, I'm designing a new golf bag for next year, because of actually from US feedback, and I have to buy that in a container, and I don't know how many bags, like 700 bags go in a container or something like that. So I don't get to make a change between bag one and 800 or something like that, and the next container might have a change, and the next container might have a change, or I've got to commit to 10,000 or something like that. You can't It's hard to be flexible in that kind of environment, and most of the other products that are in our market, in the electric car market, basically they tend to be made in the Far East, so they tend to be in that kind of this is this season's product, that's next season's product. Whereas for us, we build them all continuously in our factory here in the UK. So if they're like tomorrow's could well be different to today's. And that is just how it happens. So, we've made this improvement. Literally, we were talking about this earlier on. We've made an improvement to software, and that can happen immediately. So,
Right.
and actually, we've been working out today. Actually, that can happen immediately here, but also we've already got stock in the US. But actually, we can figure out a way of working that as well before it goes to the consumer. So we won't tell anybody about that. That will just be okay. Well, that's great. And the so it just kind of it's just the way that we do things now. It's not necessarily the right way of doing it, if I'm completely honest, because um, we probably don't sell it as much as we could, because we should really be, in theory, holding all these developments back and then launching them. But in reality, what actually happens most of the time is that we will do a load of the developments, been building them for 8 months already, then we'll launch it. And that's part of it. Again, this probably isn't the right sort of business or marketing way of doing it. Is that there's kind of a bit more of a kind of a fairness about it as well, because I always hate, because we know that the second you do that, the guy that bought it 3 weeks ago is like, oh man, I should have waited.
Yeah.
I didn't get the upgraded model. And so it's kind of nice when the customer care agents can say, don't worry about it, you've got it. We've been building that spec for 8 months already. You're good. And it's kind of a nice way to do it. I mean, that's not to say it's always like that, because
Right. Sure.
there's some things in the pipeline that are big changes. There's step changes in something that require a whole bunch of other things to go with it. So it doesn't always happen like that. But yeah, absolutely. When it comes to sort of our core products, they're being developed all the time. So we probably only do a sort of a relaunch or a freshen up of the branding on a product every, like, I don't know, 3 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas we could probably make a case for doing it every year. But really it's like, well, no, that's not it's I think the problem is as well, being coming from the engineering side of it and the product side of it, you sort of think, I think that's not a new product, that's the same as that product. And it is
Yeah.
better, but that's not, I can't really sort of be proud of it as like a new launch. So when we do a new launch, I really want it to be, no, you'll see the difference. If you had whatever the sort of 3-year-old product and you take this one, you will see the difference. This is better, and we can sort of hang our hat on it. We talk about a lot about being proud of what we do, both in a sort of from a product point of view and in a marketing point of view, is that we can sort of have all this criteria for stuff, but you kind of have and like, obviously, again, engineers, we love measuring stuff and all that kind of thing, and spreadsheets and all this kind of stuff all over the place. But actually, when it comes down to it, you've got to be able to look at it and go, that's really cool. I'm super proud of that. Like, we can, from a product point of view, there we're making that, or that's going to get approved, or from even like the marketing output that we do. Like obviously the Sam Torrance thing is the sort of the big piece of content that we did most recently, that I've lived with that. It's either an idea in my head or half shot, not edited content, or just the audio for ages, for the best part of a year and a half. But I still watch the finished 90 seconds of it and go, I love that. I'm so
Yeah.
proud of that as a piece of content. So that's kind of all gets rolled into it. So there's, like I say, I'm not saying it's right,
It's not
but
wrong either. It's just it's not right or wrong, just philosophy. And then the second part of that second question is, what are the sorts of things that you look at as small changes that you do wind up making? Can you kind of peel back the curtain a little bit and give us an idea of what some of those things are and how you notice them as a team?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we obviously we use the products ourselves, so it's like a fairly I don't know whether I'm proud of this or embarrassed about it, but I've never had my own golf trolley. In 20 years, I've never had one that's like, that's mine and it comes home with me, because there's always something else to test, some new version of software. And so I'll be completely straight with you that a lot of the times it's just trying to take out little niggles, and like everybody does with software and hardware, or we've got a new design of the way that we want to drive the wheels around it, and that changed recently. That saves, it makes the axle a little bit shorter and reduces the machining time on the little drive coupling that we make. So something like that, the customer would never know,
Right.
but actually it makes it a bit better, it makes it smoother, and actually it might even reduce a little bit of cost for us. Something as small as that, and most of the time it's little things. Like the thing we were talking about today was just a piece of software in our follow system, that in particular circumstances that that you could maybe drop the follow, because it's Bluetooth, so it's but we've all struggled to connect to Bluetooth speakers, and it's like, why isn't that working? That should be working, and little things like that we go, we found something in there that we didn't realize that might have well have been there for the whole time we've been making it. That again, nobody else would have noticed, but we go, okay, well we've made a little win there. We fixed it. So there's this concept. I don't know if this has made it into wider sport now, but the Team GB cycling team from the 2012 Olympics had a guy called Dave Brailsford there, who's now Sir Dave Brailsford, and he had this concept of the aggregation of marginal gains, which I mean every sports team does this now. So, is it the what was the Any Given Sunday speech, the inches speech that you've seen that?
Yeah, right. The 1% better every day, or take
Exactly.
your
So,
take your
and
view.
it's exactly that. So and we're doing this all the time. Like so to be fair, any sort of good product company is going to do something. Well, this is every product that we've got is a work in progress. Basically, there's no such thing as finished. There's no such thing as basically right. So at any point we go, well, how can you make that better? Why did that? So why do we get even? Why do people return products? Why is that? Because obviously this is a normal business. People don't know our category or our product. They can mostly only buy it online. So there's always a proportion of people that go, yeah, it wasn't for me. Okay, well, why was that? What was it? Was it a functional thing? Was it an expectation thing? And so we apply the same thinking in marketing as well. So there's always okay, well, what's going on there? What's the sort of the underlying issue? What's the question that we're not answering properly? And it never stops. And I think that's kind of the sort of the curse of having a sort of an engineering head, in that you always have to go, yeah, well, why is that happening though? What's so you keep asking why about things and what's going on with that, and yeah, this could be a bit better. But then the cool thing about that is that's where sort of the genesis of new products comes from though as well. In that sort of collaborative working, and obviously we most of us have been working together for a long time, so you can be sort of bouncing these conversations off each other and having sort of technical arguments about this, that, and the other. And most of the best things that we've ever done come from a misunderstanding. So no, you can't do that because of this, that, and the other. And you're like, well, that wasn't what I said, but what you just said made me think about something else. And before you know, you're going down another path. So that's kind of the joy of it, really, from a kind of a process point of view. It's kind of a geeky thing, to be honest. It's the side of things that just is the least sexy bit of any business. But as you know, when you're trying to get things done and get things off the ground, all you're trying to do all the time is solve problems. And there's a plentiful supply of those wherever you want to look if you scratch the surface. So yeah, it could be anything. I mean, sometimes it's big things. So we're working on, I can't talk about it, but we've been working on, it's like something that's really significant for us. There'll be another step change. But the problem is with the way that we do things, and this is part of the reason, to be honest, why our products are relatively expensive, is that most of the time we develop something, nobody's done it before. Which is cool because obviously it gives us a USP. So when we launched Follow, that took us 3 years. Like God, I haven't added up how much we spent because it's terrifying on R&D for a company of our size. But we've done multiple projects like that, and half the time they don't even see the light of day because we get a year and a half in, and God knows how much money, and then we go, that's not going to work, and we have to start again. But that's kind of as from an innovation point of view, that's the thing that we love, because but nobody else, the reason nobody's done this is because it's really hard. But if we can get this to work, then it puts us on another level, and that's really why people come to us, because we tend to take a different approach to product design and sort of the category than pretty much everybody else. So I think sometimes we're a little bit of an anomaly in that. We're sort of a little bit of an outlier. Our products tend to look different to everybody else. The way that we sell them is different to everybody else, but also the way that we build and design and build them is also different to everybody else. So generally speaking, with that kind of thing, we because like I said, we've been doing this for 20 years now. So in that time, we've gone through various different guises of basically trying to do what everybody else does in some circumstances, but then going our own way. And to be completely truthful, I reckon probably 9 times out of 10, we're best off doing things that feel right to us and look wrong to pretty much everybody else. is when we do our best work, which is really weird. And that's kind of the scary side of it. Again, as you know, you're in the middle of doing all this stuff that it's all, well, if you just do what everybody else does, then you don't end up with a differentiator.
Exactly.
So we kind of go, well, no, actually, we're going. If somebody said to me a few years ago that if they zig, we zag.
Yep.
What do they do? Okay, what's the opposite of what they do? Oh, this is quite interesting. Actually, let's go in this direction. And we've done the opposite way around, because the thing is with this kind of instinct side of it, from what I've learned through personal experience, is that we can sort of we can sort of logic ourselves into doing what the sort of the herd does.
Yeah.
And we've done that 2 or 3 times in our history, and every time it's been completely the wrong thing to do for us. I mean, it
Yeah.
works for other people, but for us, it's the wrong thing. So we kind of don't bother with that anymore. We follow our path, and it's quite liberating actually to go, no, actually, we're going to do what we're really good at and what we feel like is the right thing to do, and we'll find an audience for this. There'll be and obviously that we're here 20 years later, so we're not completely wrong.
There's a certain comfort I think you can develop in learning to stand out on the ledge, and a certain exhilaration that comes from it too. And like you said, the comfort that comes from being on this in the same space as someone else, your competitor or whatever, that maybe that's more comfortable, but maybe not as rewarding or gratifying in the end. And I think
Yeah, and like I
that's
say, I'm kind of it's a bit like with the walking thing. It's like I'm not saying that they're wrong and we're right,
right.
but there's because obviously there's the other companies in our space have all equally, actually they've been around for a while as well. There's in the States there's probably 3, 4, 5 other brands that have been around, and to be honest, I made this year at the PGA show, I made a point of going around and talking to all of them, and just sort of that, because as far as I'm concerned, that this is a huge market. We're just scratching the surface of it from a walking point of view. And actually, there's room. Competition is good, especially at this point in a market that I want to be. I want to be pushing them. I want them to be pushing me. And we're all kind of doing our own thing, and to a certain extent. And so
Yeah.
I like that. I think it's good. So there's obviously different customers for different things, and people will connect with either with our products, but with our, obviously we put a lot of work into our brand and how we're perceived, and we think an awful lot about that, of what's the kind of messaging we want to get across. And so obviously all of that is designed to connect with a certain kind of consumer. So yeah, it's all good.
What I hope people take away from this is that Stewart Golf has been at the forefront of this industry that, like you said, is starting to touch a whole lot more people, especially in this country, which I think is a great thing. And that you guys work so diligently at making your product better for people. And that unto itself is a highly marketable characteristic. So if you're in the walking market, if you're thinking about making an investment in these kinds of trolleys, make Stewart Golf your first location, your first stop, first piece of research. I promise you won't be disappointed. So, Mark, thank you for being with us. I really appreciate it. Always great to talk about your business and just about business with you as well.
Cool. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.